Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Welcome, elected members, officers, and members of the public. I declare this ordinary council meeting of the Shire of Broome open at 5:05 p.m. Could I ask those in the public gallery to now switch off their mobile telephones and electronic devices in accordance with the conditions of entry to the council chambers public gallery. In accordance with Regulation 14I of the Local Government Act Administration Regulations 1996, this meeting is being audio and video recorded and live streamed on the Shire's website. Under Clause 6.16 of the Shire's Meeting Procedures, Local Law 2020, I do not give permission for any other person to record the proceedings of this meeting. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be live streamed to the public. Recordings are also made available on the Shire's website following the meeting. Please note that any items discussed behind closed doors will not be live streamed. However, once the meeting is open again to the public, live streaming will recommence. Councillors, for the purposes of live streaming, can I ask that you please turn your microphone on prior to speaking and speak clearly and directly into the microphone. Once you have finished speaking, please turn your microphone off. Item 2, attendance and apologies. Councillor Peter Taylor is currently on approved leave of absence from the 4th of August 26 to the 3rd of September 2026. Item 3, announcement by President. There are none. Item 4, declarations of interest. We have a financial interest from Councillor Cooper in 9.1.1, INPEX Community Investment Funding Agreement, and the nature of interest is that INPEX is a client of his business. Councillor Cooper, again, financial 9.2.1, development application, small bar and brewery, lot 682, number 27, Hammersley Street, Broome. And the nature of the interest,
the applicant is a client of my business.
Yeah. My notes have got INPEX as a client of your business again. So yeah, the client is your business. Councillor Mail has declared a financial interest in item 9.2.1, the development application, small bar and brewery, lot 682, 27 Hammersley Street. And the reason is the applicant, the architect, is a client of her business. Councillor Virgo has also declared a financial interest in 9.1.1, INPEX Community Investment Funding Agreement. INPEX are a paid member of the BVC, of which Councillor Virgo is the General Manager. And a further one from Councillor Virgo is item 9.2.1, development application, small bar and brewery, lot 682, number 27, Hammersley Street, Broome. And the applicant is a paid member of the BVC, of which Councillor Virgo is the General Manager. There are no indirect financial interests, proximity or impartiality. No one's got any other interests? No. Moving on. Item 5, public question time. We've got no members of the public apart from the deputation, so I can dismiss public question time. Oh, you, the deputation, haven't got any public questions? No, okay, all right. Well, we'll move that away. So there being no public questions, it's now closed. Point 6, applications for leave of absence. We've got a request for leave of absence from Councillor Mail. For leave of absence from councillor duties inclusive 24 September 2026 through to 4 October 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Virgo, Councillor Matsumoto. No dissent. It's carried. Thank you. Item 7, confirmation of minutes. There's a recommendation there that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on 30 July 26, as published and circulated, be confirmed as a true and accurate record of that meeting. Do I have Councillor Mahmood, Councillor Virgo? Any clarification, dissent? No. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8, presentations, petitions and deputations. We've had a deputation request from Mr. Martin Pearson-Jones and Mr. Joel Murray in relation to item 9.2.1, development application, Small Bar and Brewery, Lot 682, number 27, Hammersley Street, Broome, has been approved by the CEO. In accordance with Clause 6.9 of Council's Meeting Procedures, Local Law 2020, a deputation invited to attend the council meeting A is not to exceed 5 people, only 2 of whom may address the council, although others may respond to specific questions from council. And B is not to address the council for a period exceeding 10 minutes without the agreement of the council. Additional members of the deputation may be allowed to speak with the leave of the presiding member. If members of the deputation could please approach the lectern, state your name and begin your deputation. Thank you.
This thing's on? Yep.
Yep. Thanks.
I'm Joel Murray, so I made the deputation along with Martin Pearson-Jones, or PJ. He's just here in case I go to water, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Just sort of preface before I get into things. Obviously, this probably could have been a lot more concise, a lot more polished, but just trying to balance talking about the Shire's concerns and also what we're about and, what we're trying to achieve. And the second thing is definitely not a public speaker, so if this kind of sounds like a Year 12 graduation, I do apologise. All right, we'll kick things off. I'll probably read it. As I said, not much of a public speaker. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Shire President, the councillors and the officers of the Broome Shire for making time today to let me speak as a part owner of both the proposed development and also Moontide Distillery. I'd also like to mention Kirsten, Jacinda and Monica for their collaboration over the past few months regarding the development. For me personally, it's the first time ever undertaken a project such as this, so the consultation and direction that you guys have provided to Marso, and I mean the Shire officers in that sense, has been appreciated, and it's made the process transparent and easy to navigate from our perspective. With regards to what we would respectfully ask the councillors to consider is changes to 3 conditions that the development application would be subject to in order to be approved. Firstly, we ask that conditions J and Q be amended so that the relevant agreements must be completed before occupation of the development rather than before site works commence. This would allow construction to progress while those matters are finalised and help us meet some important commercial deadlines. Second, our second and most important request concerns condition S, which requires a cash in lieu payment for 10 parking bays. We respectfully request that the Shire councillors delete condition S, with a condition being inserted that we submit a parking plan to the Shire's satisfaction, providing an additional 6 to 8 verge parking bays along Hammersley Street. We acknowledge that the financial component of the cash in lieu has a material impact on this development, with the quantum, $155,000, being over 10% of our original budget. At worst, this number threatens the feasibility of the development, but at a minimum, we would be forced to deliver an inferior product compared to what we've set out to do. Our initial 8-bay request came from a desire to deliver the additional parking to the site and ameliorate any parking concerns held by the Shire. In practice, we will incorporate the additional bays on the road verge with a driving philosophy behind our design, that it aligns both in look and feel to the spirit and guiding objectives of the Chinatown Old Broome Precinct Structures plans, goals for Hammersley Street. Through collaboration between the Shire's officers and our architect, Tommaso, we wholeheartedly believe that this can be achieved, with the result being an activation of this area that is beyond its current abilities. If approved, we will deliver a product of which the aesthetics will eclipse all current road verges in the immediate vicinity. And whilst we understand that this enhancement may be only available to the people of Broome and us in the short to medium term, we believe this to be a worthy outcome for all. We note that this wouldn't comply with LPP 5.6, as less than 50% of the parking would be provided on site. However, as this component would potentially be temporary in nature and would improve the Shire's own asset, we believe it offers a rare opportunity to resolve a problem whilst not losing sight of or diminishing the Shire's ultimate goal of a fully redeveloped Hammersley Street. With regards to the Shire's concerns surrounding the 6-metre aisle and accessibility, our architect has confirmed that the design can be adjusted to provide a wider aisle similar to the approximately 6.3 metre aisle at the Cable Beach car park. On behalf of the owners and also the team at Moontide, Aylin and Bernice, we thank the Shire President, the councillors, the Shire officers for I'm going to retract there because I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I thank the Shire officers for recommending the project to be approved, subject to their conditions, and I also thank the Shire President and the councillors for their consideration of our requests. We're beyond excited about this development and what it can do for our business's future and Broome's too. Finally, from a personal point of view, there are many reasons as to why we've made the above requests, but I know that if we collaborate, we can deliver a better outcome now, even if it doesn't have the longevity that the eventual Hammersley Street precinct will give to Broome. Thanks.
Thanks, Joel. PJ, okay, oops. Okay, thank you for that. I'm a little bit confused about your comment about resolving the problem temporarily.
I think what I meant by that is just, we have an understanding of, I guess, the Shire's overall goals for Hammersley Street. And, personally, as a ratepayer separate to this, I love what the Shire's done with Chinatown, Town Beach and whatnot. And so in that sense, we're understanding that what we might build and pay for might not ultimately end up in your future vision, but we're willing and understand to where that costs, build it, knowing that it might be of a temporary nature, but still provide, I think, real benefits now. So that's what I mean by temporary, I think.
Thank you.
That's what I mean by temporary.
Any questions from councillors apart from the ones that got financial interest? Sorry, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Joel, I was just wanting to follow up on your request around item J of the conditions for the deed of agreement to be prepared. Can you just clarify, is it because of your concern around how protracted the process might be to settle on an agreement that it would then delay the commencement of construction?
Yeah, that's totally it. And look, that might not eventuate. I think we've had some planners advising us, and in response to that, and then looking after our interests, that's what they were sort of getting at in that respect. But look, if it all happens in a timely manner, and I'm sure it will, I think we're just like where we're going to go. So we're just trying to navigate that and make sure we can put our best foot forward if, depending on what happens today and in the future.
Yeah. Chair, can I get a direction from Shire officers, how long a negotiation period for an agreement such as this would typically take?
I can't see an issue with that. It's a fairly straightforward question.
Through the chair, the applicant would normally engage a solicitor to prepare it up. Typically, McLeod's do these fairly often, and they can turn them around in a couple of days. And then we just review it, sign it, and could be done in a couple of weeks, just depending upon how long that they take to engage the solicitor, and the solicitor return it to us for review. But they don't take very long typically.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And so I suppose the other portion of that particular deed of agreement under item J relates to indemnity to the Shire over any claim relating to improvements in the road verge. So hypothetically, if we were to approve your proposal to incorporate additional parking in the verge, and we weren't to enter into an agreement until after that construction was complete, then theoretically you're asking the Shire to potentially wear that liability for that period of time between construction commencing and then you actually entering into the premises. So from my perspective, I don't know, is that a risk for us?
I didn't understand your complete question. Sorry.
So item J of the condition requires that a deed of agreement be prepared and executed between the Shire and the proponent prior to the commencement of site works. The proponent is asking us to delay that requirement until, rather than prior to commencement of site works, to until they occupy the premises. So there's potentially a lag there where development is going to commence, and until they move into the premises, there's a window there where if they were constructing car parking within the road verge, the Shire would, because that's Shire land effectively, the Shire would be liable if anything were to happen in that space.
Good question. Good. I'll ask the. Yeah.
So we've got a specific guideline available on our website that goes through the infrastructure team that guides what needs to happen before that car parking is constructed, like the engineering standards, drainage and all those details. In essence, the person constructing will take possession of that site and take responsibility, and we would, through that process as well, ensure an indemnifications in place for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Councillor Lewis.
Just to clarify, if you build the verge parking and then when Hammersley Street is redesigned, the verge parking disappears, do you expect that you would have to pay for the additional parking, or do you expect the Shire to be liable for who pays for the parking that's still required to make you compliant with the parking volume guidelines?
Yeah, I guess from our point of view, what we're trying to do here is realise an immediate benefit. So by building those 6 to 8 context around that, if you guys want vegetation, we can make it obviously more greenery. Yeah, so in that respect, I guess we'd be looking to, probably need to get to your answer to your question. I think probably we would think that our obligation would be discharged, providing these 8 bays, like obviously not privy to the context and so on and so forth of, what's going on with Hammersley Street. But look, we're not in, we want to be open and honest through this process. So that's probably our understanding, because this could be, what we do build could potentially be there for 3, 5, 7 years, depending on what happens. So it's a really good question. It's something we'd probably take away and have a think about, and could obviously provide a more detailed response.
Is it possible to get direction from planning as to what their expectation would be?
Through the chair, and this was something we discussed when we were talking about the Sanctuary Road streetscape works the other week in the council workshop. So basically the time is now for council to consider this development application. Once this development application has been approved and the conditions are included or not included, that's the end of it. So there isn't any chance for us to come back retrospectively to the landowner and say, we now want you to contribute. That has any legal requirements for them to contribute to. It'd only be a at-will gesture, and I would say most people wouldn't want to do that because of the cost.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, thanks, Joel. Okay. So that development application will be dealt with as the 4th item of business during tonight's proceedings. Okay, moving on, item 9, reports from officers. People, voting is simple majority for the first one, item 9.1.1, Impex Community Investment Funding Agreement. So we've got Councillor Cooper and Virgo with financial interests, and both will now leave the chambers whilst these items are deliberated. Okay, there's a report recommendation there. Do I have direction from council? Someone wish to move the report? Thanks, Councillor Smith. Seconded, Councillor Mahmood. Any clarification? Any dissent? If not, that one's declared unanimously. Thank you.
Smith.
Yes, yeah. Did you? Yeah. Can we please get Councillor Cooper and Burgo back into the room? Thanks, Councillor Cooper and Councillor Virgo. The report recommendation was carried unanimously, so thank you. Moving on to item 9.1.2, again simple majority, 12-month review dog exercise areas. The Acting Director, Development and Community Services has advised of administrative errors in the report that were identified following publication of the agenda and have subsequently been corrected administratively. The Director has also advised of a change to the officer recommendations with point 2K of the recommendation changed from Solway Reserve to Solway Park South. References to Solway Reserve in the attachments will also be updated to Solway Park South. So there is a report recommendation there. Do I have direction from Council?
Clarification, please.
Sorry, yeah, okay, I got both at once. Councillor Cooper.
Sure. With the title of this item, which is 12-month review dog exercise areas, I just want to clarify again that this does not include dog exercise areas on beaches.
Director.
Correct. When council made the decision on the animal management plan, the changes made to dog exercise areas on the beaches were a permanent change. It was only a trial in the local parks and sporting reserves.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question. With the large amount of data in the report around dogs on beaches and the large dissatisfaction from community about the current status with dogs on beaches, is that a matter that we can look at some other time in the future?
Yes, it is. If council chooses to, they can do that.
Thanks, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Lewis.
I have almost the same question, actually. And I'm wondering if you're saying we can look at it, what needs to happen to make us look at it? Because not only is there dissatisfaction about how dogs on beaches are working, but also there's an issue about feral dogs that had a lot of commentary as well. So what are we going to do? When?
We don't have anything currently scheduled to review the dogs on beaches. The comments were raised about the behaviour of dogs on beach, or more so the behaviour of the dog owners on the beach specifically. But yeah, the true changes for the dog on beach north of the rocks hasn't really been able to even really been trialled because of the Cable Beach foreshore works. So if council is so inclined, I would think it would be good to see how some of those changes happen and review it at some point after that, which would be at some stage next year.
Okay.
Well, a follow-up question. A lot of the concern was that at the moment, people can't get north of the rocks with their dogs because they're not allowed to walk across the no-dog area. So is there a work around that, given that they won't be able to get on north of the rocks till next year? What could we do to address that issue?
We, through the chair, did consider that when the animal management plan was adopted, as well as the changes on to the dogs exercise areas on the beach, and council made the decision to make that change at that point in full awareness that there would be an interruption period as well, because vehicles obviously can't get down onto the beach while the foreshore works have been happening. So yeah, we can't change that at this point.
You can't change the vehicles, but could you change the fact that people can walk from the surf club end with a dog on a lead to north of the rocks? That's...
Sorry, Director, yeah.
That would be a decision of council to change that.
Thank you, yeah. Okay.
To move a motion then at some stage to make that happen? How does it get on the agenda?
Well, that's something we can take up at the workshop or through the our Tuesday workshops and stuff. this is to do with the 12-month review dog exercise areas. We're not talking about Cable Beach at this stage. So you're
No.
going on an angle. So, but that can be raised at any of our meetings.
Sorry, Chair, Councillor Lewis could in theory raise it as a motion without notice during this council meeting if she wished, if there was a sense of urgency to it, otherwise we could discuss it later.
It's sort of not part of this actual item, so, but yeah, it can be, I suppose, but.
Yeah, through the chair, I think maybe what we can do is do some research and maybe come back to councillors with the process to make that change, and then you can take it from there. We can clarify that outside of here. I should point out that we did, through council resolution, seek to extend the Ganthian Point area as well for community use during the construction phase of the Cable Beach foreshore redevelopment. So that was part of our consideration early on with the impact on the community.
Okay. Any further? oh,
Sorry, just a
Councillor
quick
Marr.
clarification. I just want to make sure in the attachments it's just clear what Solway Park South is, just because there was obviously confusion. We're just calling it the reserve. I know that there's a map, like you said, but have we actually got some text around where Solway South is in the updated agenda, in the updated attachments?
Through the chair, if you scroll down to the page, sorry, I'm on the wrong page, where the attachment is. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Sorry, my computer's
Yep, Emma's got it on the main screen.
Yep. So you can see there, the figure clearly shows which park or which end of Solway Park we're referring to. So we'll update that to say Solway Park South, but the figure itself identifies the correct location where the dog exercise area is. It's just altering the motion and the figure to be the same.
Okay, thanks. Okay, if there's no further clarification or questions, any dissent? That motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Sorry?
Did we have a mover and seconder?
I thought we had. No, sorry, oops. Okay, do we have someone moving the motion? Councillor Smith, seconding. Councillor Virgo. Okay, now, again, was there any dissent? If not, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 9.1.3, commemorative memorial plaque policy. And there's a report recommendation there. Do I have any questions on this item?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councillor
On page 73, at the bottom of the page, it has a table with estimated costs. Who do those costs apply to?
I'll pass that through to Kirsten.
Through the chair, just waiting for it to be brought up. So the policy sets out that the bronze plaque will be had to be procured or provided to us by the applicant. So that's an estimated cost that we've sought to roughly how much that is. And then those other estimated costs will be costs that are likely to be the fee and charge should council adopt the policy. So the policy mentions that there will be an application fee that covers the installation as well as maintenance.
Thanks, Councillor Cooper. Okay, do we have a direction from council? Councillor Virgo, Councillor Cooper, thank you. Any other clarification? If not, any dissent? Carried unanimously, thank you. Okay, item 9.2.1. Councillor Cooper, Mail and Virgo have all declared financial interests in this item. 9.2.1, application Small Bar and Brewery, lot 682, 27 Hammersley. And the reason being the financial interests by all three councillors, and they've left the chambers, so thank you. Okay, so there is a report recommendation there. I've got a couple of clarification items first. I suppose, Director, the applicant stated that 17 bays are provided on site. How many car parking bays are proposed to be constructed on site? From the map, the plan sort of says 9 on site with a further 8 in front of the premises. So that would be 9.
So if you just, Emma, if you wouldn't mind just scrolling down to page 82 of the agenda. It's got a figure on there and you can see there's a red line that shows where the property boundary is. Getting there. Oop, sorry, you just went beyond it. Yeah. Yep. So you can see there, that's the site plan. The red line is basically the property boundary, just shown a bit clearer. So there's 9 car parking bays proposed on site and 8 out on the road verge.
And the 8 on the road verge are on Shire land, which we can give direction for them to be able to park on that part of the Shire land. Okay. Just curious, in the deputation, Joel was suggesting 6 to 8 bays outside of that. I thought there was a shortfall of 10 to start with.
Yeah, so in the agenda item, we've considered the transport impact statement that was submitted together with the survey that was undertaken of a similar premise. And based on that, in addition to the employee numbers, officers are of the view that the development's shortfall is 10 car parking bays. The applicants proposed these 8 out on the road verge, and they have submitted that alternative verge parking design that can accommodate a further 8 on the east-western side of the road verge as well, which is a figure, if you scroll down a bit further, Emma, is that other figure there.
Okay. So the applicants indicated the cost to deliver a car parking is less than $5,000 a bay. Why is the figure on the Shire's fees and charges $15,500 per bay?
Yeah, so the cash in lieu amount that's in the Shire's schedule of fees and charges isn't just the delivery of a functional car parking bay, so it's more than just the actual cost to deliver that sealed car parking bay. In addition to delivering the actual sealed car parking bay, it incorporates costs associated with project delivery, so and other things necessary to provide a usable car parking space. So this includes things like the engineering design, traffic management, construction of the parking aisles and drainage, lighting, landscaping, so on and so forth. So we review the contribution amount annually every year, which is adopted through the schedule of fees and charges. So this financial year, it increased by $500 or 3.3% from last financial year. And recent Shire projects, including the St Mary's car park and the Town Beach water park, confirm that the cash in lieu amount adopted in the fees and charges is representative of the cost for the Shire to deliver public parking infrastructure. So while the cost of constructing an individual bay will vary depending upon site-specific requirements, the fee and charge applies a standard contribution rate to provide certainty and transparency for developers during project planning. The purpose of the cash in lieu contribution is to ensure that the cost of providing the parking required to support new development is not borne by ratepayers, so it's paid for by the developer instead of ratepayers. Consistent with Council's policy, the preference is for developments to meet their car parking requirements on site wherever possible. So the cash in lieu option is intended for use only in circumstances where provision of on-site parking is impractical or constrained. It's probably also important to note that the $15,500 figure is only a construction component. Typically, in a lot of places, cash in lieu also includes a land value component as well, in addition to the construction costs. However, in accordance with our council policy, where the construction of the additional car parking bays is identified in public space, we can waive the land value component, which is what we've recommended in this case.
And the Shire land that we've allowed, that other in front of the building, there's no charge on that.
That is correct. There's no charge on that.
Okay. Another question, is there an option for the developer to put more on-site parking?
yes, the applicant could do it, but they'd have to amend their plans to reduce down the development footprint.
Okay, so yeah, so it's pretty tight. I suppose the main reason is, why is the alternative verge parking proposal not supported?
Yeah, sure. I think it's on page 88 of the agenda item. We provide an overview, but basically in summary, councillors would have been circulated a copy of the aerial imagery that shows this car parking overlaid on it, and that probably visually shows the concern that officers have with the car parking layout more succinctly. So the parking layout specifically is inconsistent with the layout of the parking to the north in front of ABC Kimberley and to the south in front of Matso's. This layout proposed would result in cars being set back 0.6 metres off the road carriageway, or to be even closer because the bumper normally sticks over the curb. So it would result in a very visually dominant car streetscape, which isn't something that's a positive outcome for the broader community or the streetscape generally. And when you look at the broader streetscape as well, the car parking bays to Matso's and ABC's are about 12 metres off the carriageway and then about 7 metres to the parking aisle. So the cars will be quite visually dominant if this was a parking layout that council were to approve. The parking layout's obviously inconsistent with the Chinatown Old Broome precinct structure plan. It wouldn't comply with the council policy, which was touched on in the deputation, and principally would result in a negative streetscape, would mean that we couldn't plant as many trees, have more bitumen, urban heat effect, so on and so forth. So there's a number of reasons why, it's not supported by officers.
Thank you.
I think just through the chair, that visual has just come up there, that aerial shot, which I think just explains the point in our precinct structure plan, which talks about that eastern side of Hammersley Street Road Reserve under the precinct structure plan is to be established as a linear park. So the linear park is in part kind of there in terms of the verge and the landscaping to the north. If you go up, Emma, where ABC is, there's the curbing, there's the verge there, there's landscaping. That's the linear park that the precinct structure plan is referring to, and that is also currently kind of there to the south with Matso's and the curbing and the verge that's been established there. So in the middle of it is this proposal where that car parking we're talking about, as opposed to the cash in lieu, that car parking is sitting right in that linear park, which is inconsistent with what's existing on the ground to the north and to the south, and also inconsistent with what the vision is under the precinct structure plan. Council also has the streetscape enhancement project there for Hammersley Street. That's in our council plan for next financial year. And the construction, I think, is a couple of years beyond that. So imminent.
And I suppose the only other thing I can think of at the moment, could council waive the cash in lieu for the parking?
Short answer to that is yes. So council has the discretion to approve the development without the cash in lieu contribution. Obviously, this isn't recommended by officers. You can see it there in the agenda item. So I suppose to summarise that, so the approval has already been recommended with a reduced car parking rate to that required under the scheme, and that's based on the parking survey that's been performed in the traffic impact statement. And to further reduce the car parking beyond the observed car parking survey would mean that the ratepayer of Broome would basically be funding the construction of those bays, which common practice would be is that you would impose that requirement on the developer instead of the ratepayers to do.
I take it that we'd be setting a precedent if we introduced a waiving of fees, but...
Correct, you would be. With other proponents have built on-site car parking or provided cash in lieu before in the past to meet a shortfall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Lewis?
My question is, do you have to have that money up front? If it's a financial issue for the developers, is there no way that it could be staged, say, over 3 years or something like that?
My recommendation would be that it's triggered at a particular point, so either before commencement of site works, which is what the condition is, or prior to the occupation. And prior to the occupation of the development's fine as well. Beyond that, it does present some compliance challenges if you do stage it. I think for sake of avoiding future compliance action, it's easier just to put it at a particular point.
It couldn't be written into the legal document that you're having to produce anyway, that they are liable for this payment over a period of time?
The legal document that's referenced as a condition of approval is the deed of agreement relative to the maintenance of the car parking and the indemnification, not so much a future obligation for a financial payment for cash in lieu. So if that were a thought pattern council were going down, they would have to amend that condition, and you would also have to amend the cash in lieu condition as well to be consistent.
Is it impossible to do that, or it's possible?
It's not impossible, but I wouldn't recommend it on the run. These are quite technical matters, and it's probably best that it's done with a bit of thought and time.
Right. My other question relates to, I suppose, clarity about what Hammersley Street looks like at the moment. You've referenced what the ABC and Matzo's look like, but you need to reference also what it looks like outside the prison and the urgent care clinic and everybody else who is parking exactly or even worse than what they are proposing to do. Also, they have said, you're saying it will spoil the design of the future Hammersley Street, which may or may not take place by 2030. But they've said they're willing for it to be knocked down. They're willing to buy it. You've said they're willing to build it. And once they've built it, you've said that's the end of the story. They've complied and they're willing for it to be knocked down. So I can't quite see what the problem is.
Sorry, I don't know if there's a question there, but I think the point...
Why cannot that happen? Why can't we allow them to build these 8 bays next to the verge, which don't make the street really any worse than it already is, and then accept that they hear them saying that they're okay if these bays get knocked down later?
I think, Councillor, as I pointed out, the precinct structure plan talks about a linear park along the eastern side of Hammersley Street. So you can't assume where the design is going to get to, this streetscape enhancement plan, but there's already a vision kind of set and you can see it on the ground there as it is. So the proponent may well be saying they're happy for the council to come in post the streetscape enhancement and change the design and lose the bays, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect the ratepayer to then fund re-establishing those bays somewhere else.
They don't have to. We've said that they don't have to re-establish them somewhere else. Once they've paid for them, once they've built them and paid for them, and in there it's done. I mean, yes, you have to provide parking for lots of other people as well as them in your streetscape design, but you're going to have to do that anyway, whether or not they build. I just can't see how we can refuse an application of something that is of great benefit to the tourist industry and the people of Broome over $155,000.
Probably just clarify, we're not recommending refusal of the application. So we've recommended approval with conditions. So yeah, that's obviously a clarification to that point. Probably in reference to the streetscape to the north in front of the prison is an example of exactly what not to do, and an example of an issue that we've been pursuing with the Department of Justice for an inordinate amount of time, to the extent that if we don't see some contributions from them, there will be some very tough discussions that will have already taken place and some ones that are coming up. But yeah, to the point of what you're trying to say is that if they build those bays and then we just go and demolish them, what we're proposing here is to not impose a future obligation to the ratepayer that we have to then go and demolish those bays. It's enabling a framework where we can construct car parking that will service this development and the broader community and is paid for by that developer.
And it's 10 bays, not 8 bays.
Okay, Would you propose to build them if it's not on Hammersley Street, in case that's going to be redeveloped later? Where are you going to build them that's convenient for the patrons?
We haven't done a streetscape design yet, so we can't predetermine or we don't have a design for the streetscape yet. Hence why the cash in lieu contribution is being recommended in this case.
So
Haven't we already said that Hammersley Street redesign and redevelopment is funded by, I forget whatever funding body it was, it's already funded. So we don't need their contribution.
No, what was said the other day in the briefing is the Hammersley Street side of things is funded through roads recovery, nothing to do with car parking. It's to do with the whole structure, but they're not paying, so the standard procedure is that an applicant that's doing a development has to provide car parking on site or in close proximity, sort of, and the council's already allowed 8 or 9 bays in front of the premises on Shire land to start with. So, and there's still a shortfall of 10 bays. So the question is, do we grant them the opportunity to put 10 bays right next to the road's verge edge, which interrupts that linear park that the CEO has mentioned, and we're trying to reduce the other areas. The prisons are classic, and other places, even in front of the police station. So actually does create a safety issue for pedestrians trying to cross the road as well. But a question, just litigation, if we actually approved that and someone runs out across the road from there, could the Shire be liable for creating an unsafe area, or is that just up to people?
Through the chair, potentially, like if there were a design fault or a safety issue that was not identified and were found to have breached a standard or something like that, then yes, we could be liable potentially for that.
Chair, can I ask clarification?
Councillor Smith.
So following Councillor Lewis's train of thought, if we were to accept that we need to maintain the current council policy around this precinct, the fact that there's going to be a linear park there, so we condition the approval based on a cash in lieu payment, and the Shire delivers the parking as part of the streetscape redesign, which will happen sometime beyond 2029. So we've still got a temporal gap where we're short 10 bays.
Well, not really, because they can identify, council could identify other car parking in the close proximity, which the cash in lieu could be used to build car bays.
I don't think that's what the director was suggesting was the case, though.
So correct is that there will be a 10 parking bay shortfall for an interim period of time until we actually go and construct those additional parking bays. Cash in, and it's probably just important for everyone to understand, cash in lieu doesn't mean that we're obliged to construct within a certain period of time or anything like that. It just means that we're collecting that contribution for a future construction program.
Okay.
So then there's potentially a risk that in that interim period we end up with people parking in that space anyway, in a way that doesn't necessarily have any conform or constraints around it, and that's more haphazard and potentially more dangerous than if we had designated parking.
Is that a question?
Is that a risk, I suppose is the question.
I would say you would observe what happens already when there's overflow parking at Matso's, whereby people park on Carnarvon Street and further up Hammersley Street. I would say that if there were those exceedances, a similar pattern would happen for this site as well.
Okay,
It is discretionary for council, so if any applicant comes in with a development application, in an ideal world, they'd have the car parking on their own site and you wouldn't have any issue on the verge. So I think there was a question asked earlier that, so that requires the whole thing to be redesigned and the gross lettable area to drop on the building, and then the car parking would be on its own site and there'd be no risk to the Shire of Broome with any car parking and pedestrian issues on that verge. So it is at the council's discretion to allow any, not just the 10 cash in lieu, but the other 8 or so that are there. That's at your discretion. So you need to weigh all of that up in your deliberations.
okay, any, councillor Mahmood?
I saw in a letter to the councillors that there was an assessment indicates that these bays may be delivered at a less cost per day opposed to the 15,500. Because I've noticed the conversation has been around to do it or not do it. Now, is there an option, again, discretionary, to reduce the price, which might help the proponent? Because as Councillor Lewis mentioned, this does look like a good project for Broome, and people are going to park in that area, whether it's safe or not, because that's what they do and have been doing. Not sure what the future streetscape is going to look like, but people will still park wherever they need to, if they need to for, overflow. So if we're thinking about these things taking place, and if it does give the proponent a chance to execute this development, can we offer a lower rate for that cash in lieu per bay?
Well, the directors mentioned the costs of Shire building a car bay, which is the 15,500. And that's to do with drainage and everything else. I know they're the proponent's saying they can do it for $5,000 a bay, I think it was, but I'm not sure. Well, I suppose the issue is the land belongs to council, and is for the purposes of verge and everything else. So, and it all comes back to the ratepayer at the end of the day. So are you putting a greater burden on the ratepayer or the developer?
Well, according to the letter, the assessment that they've taken place, or the quantity surveyor's assessment, indicates that $5,000 is enough. Apparently, has that been confirmed, or is that?
Through the chair, so when that letter came in, we did supply it to our engineering team just to have a look, and they did say that the raw construction cost would be relative. That seems quite relative to what it should be, but there's more than just the cost to deliver a sealed car parking bay that goes into delivering car parking. You have to account for the aisle, the lighting, the engineering design, the traffic management, superintendency, all that sort of factors into the cost of delivering public parking. But to your point about can council reduce its actual parking rate, so it's an adopted fee and charge in your schedule of fees and charges. To change that would be an absolute majority decision of council, and it would be something that council would have to make separate to this process.
Yeah, and can I confirm, is this what we're talking about, the costs of these changes potentially in the future? Are we talking about that, like, this isn't happening, but this could happen? Is that what we're saying? And on top of that, if looking at the new streetscape design, development in that area on the Shire land, could it potentially be developed in a way that it is not going to cost 15,500 per park bay if that took place, if that makes sense?
To answer that question, we have checked the cost in our schedule and fees and charges against delivery of just car parking. So that, as I think I mentioned before, the Town Beach car park that was built, as well as the St Mary's car park. And when you look at the construction costs for the delivery of those projects, the 15,500 does it's relative. It does reflect the cost for the Shire to deliver public car parking.
Can I go back to the streetscape then? Are you telling me that the new streetscape won't have any parking on it? and that's why you're saying that it will be an impost on the ratepayers to pay these parking bays. Surely the streetscape will have parking in it as part of the design and part of the cost recovery, roads to recovery payment is allowed to build parking bays.
Are you happy to answer that one?
Again, we touched on this the other day when we were talking about Sanctuary Road streetscape, and you would probably recall council asked the question of officers is how can we get the adjoining landowners contribute to the car parking? And the answer is you have to do it at development application stage. So this is what is being recommended by this. So the the regional road group and I can't remember the exact name, Roads to Recovery funding, is what we've quarantined to pay for the streetscape upgrade, but be pretty confident that it wouldn't cover the whole cost of delivering those streetscape improvements.
Would it be safe to say that under this streetscape, we won't be having car parking on Hammersley Street as such, like verge parking? It will be off the road. There'll be no road parking on Hammersley Street.
We haven't done the design yet for that. There is a concept plan that's in the Chinatown Old Broome development strategy. It does bring up a different cross-section of the street. It's further in front of the prison. That cross-section does show parking off the road carriageway, so like you see in Chinatown.
Yeah, but there won't be any car parking on the actual road itself. Horizontal parking or anything like that.
We don't know that because we haven't done the detailed design yet.
Through the chair, if you don't mind, just to clarify the question on the grant funding. So the Shire has an extensive urban road network that we're responsible for, and that grant funding can be allocated on any road to a degree, particularly the roads to recovery funding. Council has the discretion to put projects forward on any roads across the town or within the Shire. The regional road group's a bit different. It has to be it's a roads 2040 document, and certain roads are on there, like Sanctuary Road and those key sort of arterial roads, and Hammersley Street is one of those. But just this point about the grant funding everything, I just think it's worth understanding that if that money is being utilised to put in car parking on Hammersley Street, you're not using that money elsewhere across the town. You've lost that ability to use that money for road renewal or road upgrade somewhere else. And I do recall our community scorecard, which is later on the agenda, the roads score has dropped. And what it sounds like it's being proposed for that money to be utilised towards car parking for a private development, as opposed to utilising that funding to deal with road issues that are a Shire responsibility elsewhere. So I think that if anyone's unclear on that, please ask the question. But the funding can only do certain things. And the car parking along Hammersley Street, even to the prison, there's been long-standing discussions about that car parking, and not for the ratepayer to fund that car parking or for the grant funding to fund that car parking, for the state to fund that car parking that's required for their development there. So there's a bit to consider here, and there is precedent to consider as well. And the cash in lieu dollar value that was discussed, that's not, and the timing of when that comes in, that is a fairly common requirement that cash in lieu comes in before occupancy. I'm not aware in any of my years in working in several local governments that a council has delayed having that money come in. And that in itself sets a precedent which I would caution against.
Okay.
Chair, can I ask another question not relating to parking?
Councillor
The proponent's deputation and letter mentioned a request to amend conditions J and Q. so that those agreements could come into place on occupation or take effect on occupation. Do officers see any risk to that?
No, we don't. Touching on the point that you raised before about indemnification, we can appropriately address that through the approval pathway. So if that was changed, it would still mean that council's obligations and the proponent has been met. It just happens later in the date, and there's no issue with that.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Matsumoto.
I mean, it's taken a while to come to, I mean, it's been to and fro. Council has been asking questions. I think what I'd like to see or move that we suspend the discussion and then the staff organise a workshop so we have all the information that we have from the proponent and also from the council, what we can do and what we can't do. Because, I mean, just hearing it in the last half hour, that's what has been happening. We've been throwing questions to the staff and stuff.
Are you
and I don't think we should deliberate at a forum like this. We should be deliberating at a workshop, so we all can understand what's going down.
Are you?
And I think.
Are you suggesting we defer this
I
item?
feel like I wouldn't want to make a decision tonight.
So are you suggesting we defer this item to a workshop? Councillor Matzo? Are you suggesting we defer this item? I haven't asked for a move.
Yes, we defer the matter.
Okay. Okay, all right. So you're moving a motion to defer this item pending a further workshop?
Yep.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that item? I'm happy to second that.
All right.
So, for discussion, hang on, yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, we'll just get it up on the screen and just clarify that motion, which I think is to, that council defer consideration of this item to permit a workshop to occur. Words to that effect?
For further deliberation, yeah. Is that what you're suggesting, Councillor Matsumoto? You happy with that? Okay. That Councillor Matsumoto's moved a motion that council defers the item for discussion at the next council workshop, which will be deferred consideration.
Can I ask a clarification, Chair, potentially directed to the proponent? Am I no? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the motion. Sorry. Clarification to. Are you going to suggest? I suppose. Is this going to cause issues, or as in delay the project?
Yeah. I'm just mindful that they said they were shovel ready, and we're potentially delaying this decision by another 4 weeks.
Well, at least, well, it could be up to 4 weeks. Depends, but yeah. The question to the proponent. Actually, sorry, you can't ask the proponent, but we're mindful. Sorry, yeah, okay, we're mindful of the, but it needs to be resolved properly for councillors anyway. So we're going to move in a second, huh?
Can I ask a clarification, please?
Yes,
Sorry.
Councillor Martin.
I think we've been like to and fro for a bit. We've explored asking questions. I'm just not sure exactly what more there is to explore. Is that maybe something someone could tell me?
Well, the reason being is that there's too much at stake here at the moment that I don't think all councillors are fully aware of, particularly around cash in lieu, car parking, and other things that could be brought up through a workshop, just to clarify, so you're making sound decisions. Because if you make decisions on the run, it comes back to bite us in the end. So a deferral of only, well, it'll come back to the next full council meeting, if not before, is the suggestion. Okay. All right. So do I have, well, we've got mover and seconder. Do we have anyone against the motion? Councillor Smith, Councillor Lewis. Okay. Got 3 against. So what do we do now? The motion's going to get
Lapsed. It's lost.
lost. Yeah. So that motion's lost. Okay. All right. So do I have direction from council?
Chair, I'd like to move a motion that reflects the officer's recommendation with the exception of item condition J and Q. So we could amend those to reflect the proponent's request around execution of the deed of agreement at occupation of the premise.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Just yeah, to get that clarified.
Well, they're going to be able to park there anyway in the interim. They're going to be able to park there anyway in the interim. It's not like they can't park there.
All good. Okay, so we've got a, councillor's got a motion on the floor from Councillor Smith. Do we have a seconder to that motion? Just removing items, point J and Q.
Sorry, through the chair, we'll just put it up on the screen. It was basically to change the condition about prior to construction commencing, to change that to prior to occupancy on both condition J and Q.
So happy with that?
Yeah, it's there.
Yep, okay. So do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Mahmood. Do I have anyone against the motion?
Is there any way of changing S so that we reduce the contribution, or can we not do that today? No.
Are you objecting to? Okay, well, okay, we'll go to debate. Councillor
No.
Mahmood, yeah. So Councillor Smith, you would speak to the motion.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've obviously done some fairly deep deliberation over this today, so it's a decision that doesn't come lightly. I feel that the precedent that this could set and the cost impost that it would apply to the ratepayer under future development is a risk that we need to consider. And if we enable funding to support the future development of a streetscape that will enable better pedestrian flow, the linear parks and street parking where appropriate, then we'll ultimately end up with a better outcome for the community. This obviously doesn't preclude, as happens at the moment, cars from parking on that verge anyway, and I obviously appreciate the cost impost up to almost 10% of the total build cost for the proponent. And for that reason, this isn't an easy decision to make. However, I think for the consideration of the broader community, it's the right one.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood.
I don't wish to share a debate because I don't think that the points of the amendments of J and Q is why this is being challenged.
Okay. All right. So you're not. Hang on. Yeah.
So nothing to add. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis, you wish to speak against the motion.
I'm conflicted, and I wish we could ask the proponent really, I mean, is it an idle threat that it won't go ahead if this happens,
you can't
or
ask,
is it?
unfortunately, you
I
can't
can't ask them, but I can float it. I can tell the world that that's my problem. Will it not go ahead if if we charge them for those parking bays. I take your point about precedence. I take your point about the streetscape in the future, sort of. I wish we could reduce it, the quantum of the money. I wish we could, make them pay it over time. So as the development earns money, it can pay money. I think these things are all unfortunate that the system is so rigid that we can't do that. And so that's why I'm objecting reluctant, well, in two minds. But I think these points need to be considered. So yes, at the moment I'm saying I'm against the motion.
Okay. Another speaker for the motion? I'm happy to speak to the motion. I concur with Councillor Smith's statement. It is a hard decision, but then at the end of the day, the community comes first and the safety of pedestrians on the road. The future of that linear park, council is trying to get all those premises along Hammersley Street to do the right thing. And as mentioned before, it's pretty hard to stop people parking on the verge anyway, but at least this is going towards that. And plus we'll have funding to be used for car parking in the future. So I'm happy to support your motion. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Others for? Okay, I'll put the motion to the vote. Right of reply, Councillor Smith.
Thanks. I don't feel the need to execute my right of reply.
Sorry?
I don't feel the need to execute my right of reply. I've said all that I need to.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? In favour, for and against? One. So that's carried 4-1. Thank you. Can we get the three councillors back in the room? Thanks. Deleting J and Q. Amending it. Okay, thank you, councillors. That was a fairly extensive deliberation. The item went through with an amendment to clauses J and Q, so I won't read the entire report recommendation, but point J was amended. Once I get the screen. J, that's it. J was amended. Deed of agreement is to be prepared and executed at the owner's cost between the owner and the Shire prior to the occupation of the development, under which the owner agrees and acknowledges the following. So the point change was the occupation of the development, and Q again was prior to the occupation of the development, the owner must prepare and enter into an agreement. So it was just those 4 words were added. Okay. All right, moving on. Moving on to item 9.2.2, permanent partial road closure of Cable Beach Road West. There's a report there, recommendation. Do I have direction from council? Councillor Smith, Councillor Lewis, thank you. Any questions? Any dissent? I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.2.3, proposed excision from Reserve 51006, telecommunications tower lease with the state. And there's a report recommendation there. Do I have any direction from council?
Got a clarification, please. Clarification. this is the question I meant to ask on Tuesday, but I couldn't understand it. The report suggests two options, of which you've chosen one. One was about excision of the land, one was different. What's the difference between those two options in the timing of the tower installation and in the revenue to the Shire? Which is essentially which one is more beneficial?
The most beneficial one is it's not to agree to the excision, and but that then requires the state to give us power to lease and change the purpose of the reserve, which they said that they won't do. So it's unfortunate. We've asked for that policy position to be communicated with us. They won't give it to us. It's an internal policy position. The state obviously wants to receive the income from the telecommunications tower. So basically we've recommended the excision because we acknowledge that there needs to be improved telecommunication services.
Okay. So have we got a mover and second? Oh, so someone happy to move the report recommendation? Councillor Smith, Councillor Cooper, thank you. Any further clarification, any dissent? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Item 9.2.4, Draft Waste Management and Resource Recovery Strategy 2030 for public comment. Do I have direction from Council on that one? Councillor Virgo moving, Councillor Lewis seconding. Any dissent, clarification? No? That's carried unanimously. All right, moving on, performance, 9.4.1, monthly financial report, June 2026. There's a report recommendation there. Councillor Smith, Councillor, did I? Oh, sorry. I moved too many pages. Oh, 9.2.4? No, we've done 9.2.4. Oh, sorry, yeah, okay, 9.2.5, okay. Successful application to the Recycling Modernisation Fund, RMF. And there was an email went out today that we're putting on a workshop in September in relation to this one. So do I have direction from Council? Councillor Cooper, Councillor Lewis, seconding. Any questions, any dissent? Carried unanimously, thank you. Moving on, 9.3.1, Community Scorecard 2026. There's a report recommendation there. Do I have any direction from Council?
I've got an amendment.
Councillor Lewis.
Do I do that now?
What's your amendment, please?
They've got the wording so it can come up on the screen. You do have the wording, do you?
What's your amendments there, is it?
I've got point 6 and point 7. So do I need to read them?
Sorry, through the chair, it's not an amendment. There's no motion moved. There's no motion on the table at the moment. There's an officer recommendation.
Wait yet.
No, this is a motion.
Okay, I'm putting forward the motion. Thank you.
So you're putting forward point 6 and point 7?
Yes, and the whole motion, and then somebody else can second it.
Yeah, but can you read 6 and 7 out, which is you haven't changed 1 to 5, is that right?
No?
Okay, so you need to read 6 and 7 out,
Okay.
please.
It requests the Chief Executive Officer to schedule a workshop for Council to discuss outcomes 9 and 10 of the Community Scorecard relating to Shire's leadership, engagement, listening and understanding of community needs, and considers the feedback from the Shire of Broome Community Scorecard when reviewing the corporate communication and engagement strategy.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Virgo, any clarification? Any dissent? Right, it's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on from that one. 9.4.1, monthly financial report, June 2026. I think I've caught up. Do I have direction from council on that one? Councillor Virgo, Councillor Cooper. Any dissent on that item? Financial report? No. Thank you. That's carried. 9.4.2, monthly financial report, July 2026. There's a report recommendation there. Councillor Virgo, Councillor Matsumoto. Any dissent on this one? I declared unanimous. Thank you. 9.4.3, monthly payment listing, July 2026. There's a report recommendation there. Councillor Cooper, Councillor Virgo. Any clarification? Any dissent? If not, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10, reports of committees. There are none. Item 11, notices of motion. There are none. Item 12, questions by members without notice. There are none. Item 13, business of an urgent nature. There is none. And item 14, meeting close to public. There's nothing confidential tonight. And item 15, meeting closure. So being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 6:26 p.m. Can I please confirm the audio and recording has ended?